In the depths of human existence lies a question that concerns everyone. To what extent are we authentic in our essence? Have we not become reflections of the expectations of the world around us, losing our true identity? Consider, when you laugh, does your true joy resonate in that laughter, or is it merely an echo of the mask you wear to conform to societal norms? When you experience love, are you sure you love the person themselves and not just captivated by a projection of your own subconscious? Imagine a person's soul as a complex three-dimensional map. On the surface of this map lies the ego, the conscious I, with which we identify in everyday life, where we work, build relationships, and express our thoughts and feelings. However, this is only a small part of our inner universe. Deep within this map lies a rich and unexplored world, the abode of unresolved conflicts, suppressed desires, and ancient archetypes that we have never named. There dwells the shadow, the totality of qualities and character traits unacceptable to us. Even deeper lie the anima and animus, the feminine principle in the soul of a man and the masculine principle in the soul of a woman. Only when a person gathers the courage to descend into this inner world, to pass through fear and doubt, to tear off all masks and face the truth, can they touch the self, the deepest and truest I. This journey is not just a psychological exploration, it is a spiritual ascent to oneself, to the realization of one's integrity and purpose. Are you ready to embark on this exciting adventure and discover your true essence? Embarking on a journey of self-discovery, every traveler faces the need to navigate the labyrinths of their own inner world. Carl Jung's analytical psychology offers a compass and a map to explore the most hidden corners of the psyche. In this journey, one must solve the riddle of the anima and animus, understand the reasons for their concealment in the shadow of the unconscious, and realize their role in the process of individuation, the unification of the conscious and unconscious, to achieve genuine awakening and life in harmony with one's true nature. For those who have ever experienced internal contradictions in love, been lost in the multiplicity of life choices, or suffered from guilt due to the rejection of certain aspects of their personality, the Jungian map of the psyche can be a real revelation. It presents a holistic picture of the inner world, like a map to help you get out of a dense forest. But what if a person is lost in their own consciousness, where voices, emotions, memories, and contradictions intertwine? What map will show them the way out, or rather, help them return to themselves? Carl Jung, an outstanding psychoanalyst of the 20th century, left behind such a map of consciousness. This is not a geographical map, but a system that describes in detail each layer of the inner world, from the visible aspects to those that a person does not dare to face. It covers everything, from the ego that a person demonstrates to the world, to the parts hidden in the unconscious, suppressed, rejected, and branded as unacceptable. It is proposed to open this map together, not just for study, but for deep self-knowledge. After all, each area on this map, from the persona to the shadow, from the anima, animus, to the personal and collective unconscious, is a part of the personality that lives, waits for recognition, and longs for reunification with the whole. This is no longer just a speculative construction, but a real tool for self-knowledge, providing answers to questions about the causes of feelings of loss, unhealed emotional wounds, and recurring painful situations. Most importantly, this tool points the way to finding integrity. It is proposed to embark on a journey through this map, where the inner world of man awaits its explorer. To begin this journey on Jung's map of consciousness, imagine yourself standing in front of an ancient castle, where many doors lead to various levels of the inner world. As with any research, the path begins with the outer layer, gradually deepening towards the center. The first door is probably the most familiar to everyone. It's the persona. This is what a person demonstrates to others, the image that they create in the eyes of other people, the social role that they take on. This is a kind of mask that allows one to be accepted by society, earn love, and conform to accepted norms. However, the persona is only part of the personality. not its full reflection. It is the role that one seems to have to play. This mask is worn at work, in relationships, and even within the family. Prolonged stay in an image imposed from the outside is fraught with loss of connection with the authentic self. A person begins to wonder, am I really living my life, or am I just embodying someone else's expectations? Behind the external mask lies the ego, the conscious part of the personality, including the name, occupation, and beliefs. The ego is the center of consciousness, helping us navigate everyday life, make decisions, and set goals. However, this very function often leads to the mistaken identification of oneself solely with the ego. As Jung emphasized, the ego is only the visible part of the iceberg. Life focused exclusively on the ego leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and disorientation, as a person becomes detached from the deeper aspects of their personality. While the development of the ego is necessary, it is equally important to be able to take a step back and listen to the inner voice. Having overcome the level of consciousness, one enters the realm of the personal unconscious, a repository of forgotten memories, unhealed wounds, and suppressed emotions. Everything that seems unacceptable or unsafe to express is displaced into this area, but it does not disappear without a trace, waiting for its time to reactivate. Uncontrolled emotional outbursts and strange dreams are often signals from this depth. Jung called powerful clusters in the personal unconscious complexes, clots of unprocessed emotions, like underground lakes ready to burst out at the slightest impact. At this level, working with emotions, journaling, and dream analysis are especially important to understand what inner needs require attention. Even deeper lies the collective unconscious, a level that reflects not personal history, but the universal human heritage. Here reside archetypes, universal images such as the mother, father, betrayer, child, hero, and shadow. Jung paid special attention to the analysis of anima and animus, the two most significant archetypes. Between the personal and collective unconscious lies the shadow, the rejected part of the personality, containing both negative traits, selfishness, envy, lust for power, and unrealized talents and aspirations, creativity, courage. The shadow is a collection of qualities and aspirations that once belonged to a person or that they secretly aspired to, but were rejected by their inner critic as undesirable, risky, or unacceptable. Carl Jung argued that the shadow is a kind of portal that opens the way to the authentic self. The more actively an individual tries to escape from their shadow, the stronger it begins to dominate their decisions and behavior. Conversely, a bold confrontation with it releases a colossal supply of life energy previously suppressed. It is in this collision that the process of true healing begins, when a person finds the courage to face the part of themselves that they once turned away from. Having overcome the barrier of the shadow, the personality faces an amazing aspect of their psyche, the anima, the embodiment of femininity in a man, and the animus, the personification of masculinity in a woman. These archetypes often manifest as an idealized image of a lover in a whirlwind of passionate but turbulent relationships, in a sudden explosion of emotions, as well as through dreams, creative impulses, intuitive insights, and deep reflections. The anima and animus serve as a bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between rational thinking and emotional experiences, between the external personality and the deep soul. When these archetypes remain unrecognized and unintegrated, they can cause a person to involuntarily become infatuated with other people, creating the illusion of fatal predestination. However, when the anima and animus are integrated into the structure of the personality, they endow a person with creative potential, developed intuition, the ability to act harmoniously, and deep awareness. In the very depths of human existence lies the self, which has nothing to do with the usual ego. This is the center of authentic essence, where all aspects of the personality, both light and dark, rational and instinctive, vulnerable and strong, have the right to harmonious coexistence and creation. The self does not need confirmation of its value or the achievement of any goals. It is eternally present, patiently waiting for a person to return to their origins. Touching the self marks the beginning of the individuation process, in which healing from fragmentation occurs and integrity is acquired, allowing one to live in the present moment with genuine self-expression. According to the Jungian scheme, on both sides are the external world, where the persona manifests, and the internal world, populated by archetypes, and the self. Often people tend to focus on the external world, evaluating themselves through the prism of other people's views. However, for spiritual growth, it is necessary to turn inward, boldly face the shadow, enter into a dialogue with the animus, and find the self, the whole I. The map of the soul holds silent scars, and sometimes the question arises, why do some wounds, not differing in particular intensity, continue to bleed? Words, glances, actions from the past flash in memory, seemingly long forgotten, but as soon as something slightly touches them, the pain revives with renewed vigor, as if there was no time to heal the wounds. And then the logical question arises, why does it still hurt, even though all of that is far behind? Attempts to move forward after experiencing shocks often fail, despite a rational understanding of the need for forgiveness and liberation from the past. The reason for this lies not in the conscious sphere, but in the deep layers of the psyche. The psychological model proposed by Jung is a multi-level structure of the human inner world. On the surface is the ego, the conscious I, defining self-identity, goals, and actions. Around the ego is the persona, the mask that a person wears to interact with society, adapt, and gain recognition. At the moment of trauma, the ego is aware of the pain, expressed in tears, anger, and attempts to make sense of what happened through communication and writing. However, if the trauma does not receive proper processing, it does not disappear without a trace, but is displaced into the realm of the personal unconscious. There it forms into a complex, an accumulation of unprocessed emotions, a kind of inner child stuck in the moment of the traumatic event and demanding attention. This pain does not go away, but only lies dormant, waiting for the right moment to manifest. A trigger can be a similar situation, words, or the choice of a partner reminiscent of the abuser. In such moments, a person feels pain caused by current circumstances, but in reality, these are echoes of an unhealed past. Deeper than the personal unconscious is the collective unconscious, containing archetypes, universal psychological images common to all humanity. Among them is the shadow, embodying the rejected aspects of personality, anger, weakness, helplessness, fear of being abandoned. A person, unwilling to acknowledge these traits, suppresses them, displacing them into the shadow. As Jung aptly noted, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will imperceptibly control a person's life, determining its course, and the person will be inclined to call it fate. An unhealed emotional wound indicates not weakness, but rather a lack of courage to delve into one's own shadow, to meet face to face with the wounded inner child. A person continues to wear the mask of the persona, skillfully pretending that everything is fine, allowing the ego to dominate and deny the existence of deeper aspects that require acceptance and reconciliation. To achieve true healing, it is not enough to simply assert that everything is fine. It is necessary to delve into the map of one's soul, identify buried emotions, discard the mask, overcome the resistance of the ego, pass through the realm of the shadow, and listen to the voice of the anima or animus, to the forgotten parts of intuition, emotions, and intellect. Only then can one touch the self, the state of wholeness. For true healing comes only when both the light and dark sides of personality are integrated, and only when a person dares to admit that they were once in pain do they gain genuine inner freedom. The merging of the conscious and unconscious is a practical path to liberation from the power of instincts and automatic reactions. Let us recall Carl Jung's psychological model, where each of us passes through various areas of the psyche, from the ego and persona to the shadow and animus, and finally reaches the self, the integral I. However, Simple understanding is not enough because knowledge unsupported by experience remains a dead weight. Therefore, it is worth embarking together on a journey of deep practice where theory comes to life and the map of the soul becomes a real route in everyday life. Active imagination and dream interpretation are tools that allow you to hear the voice of the unconscious. It communicates with us not in words but in symbols, and dreams are the very letters that it sends every night. But how often do we open these messages and read their meaning? It is necessary to start a dream journal where every morning, immediately after waking up, you should record all the images and sensations that remain in your memory, even if it is only individual fragments. Then you can choose one of these symbols and apply Jung's active imagination technique. Closing your eyes, you need to imagine that you are talking to this symbol, asking questions. Who are you? What do you want to tell me? It is important to record this dialogue like a play, and then you can be surprised to find that it is this imaginary part of us that tells the deepest truth that needs to be heard. Listening to your body means connecting with your unconscious. It dwells not only in dreams but also in physical sensations. When a person experiences anger but does not dare to express it, it can manifest as a constriction in the throat. Sadness, which has to be hidden behind a smile, can feel like a heaviness in the stomach. Anxiety, not finding an outlet in tears, can turn into pain in the shoulders and neck. Try the following exercise. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and focus your attention on each area of your body, asking yourself if there are any hidden emotions there. Allow your body to respond without letting your mind interfere. At that moment, forgotten emotions will begin to speak. The process of listening opens doors to memories that have long languished in the confinement of cellular structures. It's a kind of journey into yourself, an exploration of the shadow sides of your personality. Don't avoid confronting your own darkness, because the shadow fears not the light itself, but oblivion and neglect. It represents the part of I that a person stubbornly refuses to acknowledge, the part that is prone to envy, painful vulnerability, and a tendency to judge others. However, the more the shadow is denied, the more power it gains, subtly controlling actions and decisions. As a practical exercise, make a list of 3 people who evoke the greatest dislike. Then list the specific character traits that particularly irritate you in these people. It is important to ask yourself, does a similar trait exist in me, even in a hidden form? For example, you can write, I hate hypocrisy in others because I myself had to pretend to earn love. This is how light is shed on the shadow aspects of the personality, and with each such revelation, the shadow loses its frightening power. Over time, it ceases to be an enemy, turning into a valuable ally. Imagination, rethinking, belief in one's own strengths, and unlocking potential are the key elements of transformation. In the depths of the subconscious, beliefs are stored that were laid down in childhood. I'm not good enough. I have to make an effort to be loved. If I show weakness, I will be hurt. These childhood beliefs continue to influence adult life, determining behavior and reactions. To work with subconscious beliefs, you can use the technique of guided visualization. Imagine a journey into the past, a meeting with a younger version of yourself. Accept your inner child with tenderness and say words of comfort. You are not to blame for the past. You were just trying to survive. Instill in yourself a new belief that will become an anchor in the raging sea of doubt. I am worthy of love simply because I exist. In this way, step by step, the unconscious rewrites outdated programs, freeing itself from the shackles of old wounds. Creativity opens the door to the unexplored depths of the unconscious. It is no coincidence that Carl Jung argued that every work of art is a dream embodied in colors. You don't have to be a professional artist, just transfer your feelings and experiences to paper. Try to depict the symbol of your anima or animus, which appears to you in dreams. Draw your shadow, reveal its essence and appearance. Write a poem, not striving for refinement of language, but expressing the sincerity of the soul. Creativity is a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, a way to clothe the invisible in a form with which you can interact, play, and transform. How do you know that you have established a connection with the depths of your I? how to recognize that you have learned to listen to the voice of the unconscious without avoiding it. There are subtle but powerful signs that manifest in life as a quiet whisper from within, pointing the right way. First of all, you will notice that making decisions becomes easier and more natural. No more disputes and doubts rage in the head. The gap between desire and the courage to act disappears. The internal whirlpool, which once dragged into the abyss of past fears, entrenched shame and suppressed anger, ceases to exist. Life begins to flow smoothly and serenely, like a quiet stream, not because all the answers to questions have been found, but because of the disappearance of internal resistance. At this moment, an amazing phenomenon occurs. Coincidences begin to arise, as if the universe itself is entering into dialogue. Someone is remembered, and then his call is heard. There is a need for a sign, and it appears before your eyes in the form of a poster, song, or statement on social networks that touches the depths of the soul. This is not just superstition, but a subtle form of interaction with the outside world, a wave that can only be heard with a clear and calm mind. It becomes noticeable how the former emotions, raging like erupting volcanoes, gradually soften. Instead of an unconscious reaction, there is an opportunity to choose how to react to what is happening. There is a pause, a sigh, an awareness. A person remains a person, experiences sadness and anger, but is no longer a puppet in the hands of emotions. And the most amazing transformation occurs in a dream. Dreams become clear and bright, as if an invisible guide whispers something every night. The symbols, images, and stories that unfold in a dream no longer seem chaotic and alien, acquiring meaning and clarity. Deep within human nature lie messages that carry answers and sometimes even healing. These are the first manifestations of the inextricable connection that unites a person with themselves, with their inner world. To realize this connection requires neither external recognition nor explanations supported by scientific theories. One senses it intuitively, feels its presence in the very depths of their being. Throughout this narrative, we have explored ways to recognize this authentic connection with the unconscious mind. Not the rational mind, but the part of us that listens, is present, and loves. The unconscious does not need judgment, control, or subjugation. It should be recognized as a sacred and wise component of the personality. Only by ceasing to divide light and darkness within oneself can one realize that it is their harmonious combination that makes them whole. There is no need to become someone else. It is enough to return to one's true self. Nothing needs to be added. One should merely cast off the layers of dust that conceal the true essence. And in this journey to oneself, one is not alone. The unconscious does not resist. It strives for growth and development alongside the individual. If what you have heard today has touched a chord, awakened memories, pain, or even a small spark of awareness, consider sharing this revelation with a friend who is also striving on the path of returning to themselves. And of course, do not forget to support the channel so as not to miss the following episodes dedicated to an in-depth study of one of the most amazing journeys in Jungian psychology. Individuation is a profound process of self-realization that consists not so much in acquiring new qualities or knowledge, but in revealing and returning to the original, authentic essence of a person, to what has always constituted their inner core. It is not an accumulation of external attributes, but rather a liberation from the superficial, which hinders the manifestation of the true